today. Research for innovation. You cannot do innovation effectively. You can't undergo any growth project, any innovation without doing some research. That is very true. Research is important for any innovation project because you want to even start by knowing whether the problem has been solved or not by some other person, and that is innovation. What are the types of research necessary for an innovation project? I like to say review research, which is simply secondary data. This is talking about research, you searching out things that are already there in the public domain, research that have already been done by someone else and reported, and they are already in the public domain. You want to go and search them out. They give you knowledge about where you ought to be currently towards solving the challenge you want to solve. It brings you up to date to that particular challenge, that particular problem, in the knowledge of that particular problem. Let's say you want to solve a problem around COVID-19. You want to create a solution to cure COVID-19. You cannot do that effectively without already knowing where the world is in trying to solve COVID-19. You want to know what solutions that are there already. Are they not effective? What are their limitations? You want to build upon what already exists. Okay, so that's why you want to do a secondary research or generate secondary data. You want to understand, has someone else tried to solve this problem somewhere, some other part of the world? Did they fail? Did they succeed? Why did they fail if they failed? So you want to start from Google. You want to start from internet. You want to know everything about that subject. It's going to put you in a position to better provide a solution for the problem you're trying to solve. That's review research. It's simply searching the library, searching the internet, you know, going to talk to experts in the field to check what have been published, that is in the journals. But you will want to contrast it to the original research type. Original research is a primary research. It's primary data you're going out there to get. With original research, you're going to talk to people that are stakeholders in the problem you want to solve. These are tacit experts. They are the owners of the problem. You want to go talk to them to understand how the problem is affecting them, to understand how they are relating to the problem, to really understand them because they are the people to consume your solution. So you want to understand these people so much to enable you provide the right solution for them. So that is the original research. And that is actually what we're going to be focusing on today. Original research. Every person knows how to do secondary research, and that's review research. Everyone knows how to Google to, search for information. But for original research, it's also called ethnographic research. You want to study the customer. You want to study the person that has that problem. It involves some techniques, and these are the techniques we want to see tonight. So for secondary research, as I said earlier, you have internet sources, you have literature, even market research articles. This is where you find the source data around the problem you want to solve. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to do research that has already been done. You want to go out there and check published data. Original research could include surveys, focus group research, market research, ethnographic research. Surveys, focus group where people are gathered together and then you ask them questions and you seek their opinion on a subject matter. Market research is you going into the marketplace and you interviewing and giving questionnaires to persons that play in that marketplace. Ethnographic research is the one we want to study. That is the most important for an innovation process. while the surveys, focus group, market research give you some insight into the problem, is ethnographic research that actually helps you understand how the customer relates to the problem, how the problem actually affects the customer. With ethnographic research, it is more about your observation. It is more about your observation and drawing insights from what the patient, from what the customer is talking about, and from what the customer is doing. It's not so much about what they tell you, but the insights you reading within the between the lines about whatever they are telling you, about whatever they are doing. You reading between the lines to understand, to extract insights. That's ethnographic research. So how do you go about it? Ethnographic research is the act of studying and or interacting with potential users in their natural environment. You go to their natural environment because it tells a lot about how they actually relate to the problem. Why is it important? It's important because you and your potential customers don't actually know what they need. So they don't know what they need most times. They are suffering from the problem, but if they are thinking about a solution, they're thinking about something else. It's completely different. They're already they have adapted to the problem. They have adapted to the problem. They did not know they would actually really need such a solution. Imagine years ago when in Nigeria there were no handsets, there were no mobile devices. People were using landlines. If you asked them then, what do you need? What do you need? They would say they needed more landlines because it was very difficult for people to make calls internationally then. They would go to some person that has a landline within their environment. They would go there and queue and go to phone booths and queue and buy cards to make calls. If you asked them then, what do you need? How do we solve your problem? They will say, oh, make more landlines available, make more phone booths available. Let every household have access to a landline. But you know what? That wouldn't have solved the problem. They didn't know how to solve the problem. They didn't know, they didn't understand what they actually need. They didn't actually understand what they needed. They need someone to tell them that it is a handset, it's a mobile device, a wireless device that will actually solve your problem, not landlines. So customers don't know their problems. Don't know what they need. They don't know what they need. You need to draw out insight by going out there to study them. The best and most reliable way of understanding who your potential customers are is through ethnographic research. That's the best way. You're going to observe them. How do these guys live their daily life? You study their activities. In studying the activities, you understand if they are going to be able to use your product when you eventually produce it. You need to interact with tacit experts in the industry you're interested in. Tacit experts here are the owners of the problem. They are professors of their own problem. So you need to go out there and interact with them. It's not a phone call thing. It's physical interaction. You have to go to the environment to understand how they relate with that problem in their natural environment. Though these days with COVID-19, people no longer, are able to go out there to natural environments to interview and interact with their potential customers. But one of the things you can do is to use a video call. That's the next thing you can do. That's the next level of interaction. But phone calls are not the best. What are the tools for ethnographic research? Number one is deep interviewing. We're going to look at deep interviewing in this class. Then there is journey mapping. Journey mapping is a bit beyond the scope of this class. There is mind mapping, there is value chain analysis. These are beyond the scope of this class. But we're going to just talk about deep interviewing, which is actually the number one, which is a very excellent technique. If you know it, you're going to do well with ethnographic research. Deep interviewing. The first thing you want to know, so these are some very important points about deep interview. The first thing is that you want to know your value proposition. You want to understand what is my value proposition. You don't go out there without having something in mind that you're trying to provide, you're trying to solve. You have some solution to some problem you have found out. But that solution is simply a hypothesis, is simply a guess at that moment in time. Why you're going out there to do your deep interview is to validate the hypothesis you have. I have a simple hypothesis. For instance, I have a hypothesis that phone users, people are going to need mobile phones. So at that time, it was simply a hypothesis. Someone needed to go out there, talk to them, understand how they're living their lives, to know that, okay, these guys are actually going to need a mobile phone and not more landlines. So you want to know your value proposition. Number two, know who your potential customer segments are. You want to know the category of people you want that are going to be that are your potential customer segments. Who are these people that you want to serve? You want to know them because that will guide you on how to go about finding them for an interview or for an interaction. So you need to know them. Remember, this is also why you have to have a vision brief, because these things are already addressed in the vision brief. In the vision brief, you already said who your potential customers are. You had already said what your value proposition is. So these things are clear from that point. So it's not a hazy period for you now. You're focused, where you're headed. The good news is that you can find out what customers know about their problems. If you can find out what they know about their problems, you can help them solve them. That's the good news. If you can find about the problem, you can help them solve them. But the bad news is that it is not easy to find out what customers know. You see, it's not easy to find out what customers know. I like this example about Henry Ford. When Henry Ford wanted to, build a car, a vehicle those days, people were still using horses to travel distances. He asked them, guys, how do I help solve this your problem about transportation? What they said was that they needed faster horses. They needed faster horses because people do not know. It's not easy to find out what people know, what their problems are. It's not easy. So, but if you can find out what they know about their problems, you can help them solve the problem, right? That's the good news. Customers are tacit experts on their own problems. I said this earlier on. They are the experts of their own problems. So they are tacit experts because they can't tell you themselves. You must extract the insights from them. Don't talk about your technology when you go out there. No, don't sell anything. Just listen and feel their pains. It's in the feeling their pains that you understand what their problems are. Founders must do this themselves. Employees will miss the important stuff. This whole deep interview is done by founders of the company. You have to ask the right questions when you go out there. You have to ask the right questions. You have to ask the right questions. And there are 4 things to know about the right questions. And I want to just mention a few things you want to know about the right questions. Number 1, don't ask when you go out there to talk to your potential customers. Don't ask close-ended questions. Don't ask close-ended questions. You want to ask open-ended questions because open-ended questions give them the opportunity to talk more about what their challenges are. Okay. Then you want to also not to ask, you don't want to ask multiple choice questions. You don't want to give them options. You want them to talk. The more they talk, the more insights you draw from what they are saying. You want them to talk. The third thing is that you want to use words like who, what, why. Okay, why, who, what, which, those question interrogation words. That's what you want to use to extract as much information as possible. Tell me about a time when, imagine this is one of the best interrogation stems I know. Tell me about a time when, tell them to tell a story about a pain point. Storytelling is very important. If you can get your potential customer, that's the interviewee, to tell you a story about their pain point, that would be amazing. Have someone else take notes. So you want to go in pairs, or you take permission to record. You take permission to record. It's so difficult to be jotting when you are at the same time that you're asking the questions. Make a pipeline. A pipeline is something like, okay, you decide you're going to go out there to talk to 20 people, or you're going to call up 20 people, but you've planned that maybe 10 people are going to be the ones that will respond to you, because some of these people are strangers to you. When you go out there and you want to seek permission to talk to them, they may not oblige you. They may say, oh, I'm busy, things like that. So when you have a pipeline, it makes it easy for you. I'm going to approach 20 people. I'm hoping that only 10 will agree to talk with me. And then of these 10, I'm hoping that maybe 7 people are going to give me the length of their time. Then of these people, I'm hoping that 5 people are going to, give me another appointment or give me their contacts to contact them if I have another question, things like that. So that gives you, if you have a pipeline, it helps you. Number 5, the next thing is master 5 ways to end an interview. There are 5 secrets to ending an interview. Number 1 is you want to ask them, you want to go back to the very important points they made during the interview. You did say that you don't like to you don't like to use you don't like to use okay, let me stick to the telephone example. Okay, you told us that you don't have anybody living abroad, so you don't often go to make calls. Is that correct? So you want to play back what they told you, the important things they told you. You want to be sure that they're able to confirm those things. Because when you ask them again, they're able to give you more information and they're able to confirm those important points. So that's number 1. Number 2, you want to ask them, is there anything I forgot to ask you about this problem? Is there anything I forgot to ask you about this problem? You want them to tell you certain things, because truth about it is that it's usually impossible for you to have exhausted all the questions within that time. So you want them to tell you, be the ones to suggest questions you should have asked them. Okay, because remember, these ones are tacit experts. They are the experts of their problems. Okay. So number 3 is you want to ask them, is there any person else, someone else you think I should meet and talk to about this problem? Is there someone else you can refer us to? Is there someone else you can refer us to? That's the number 3 question. Very, very important. Very important. So they refer you to someone they think that will give you valuable insights. Number 4 is you want to say, can I get back to you? If I remember something else I want to ask, can I get back to you? So you want them to give you the opportunity to get back to them. Then the last thing you want to do is to thank them. You want to really thank them for giving you their time. You want to thank them for giving you their time. Gratitude is always great. How do you get interviews? How do you get interviews? Number 1, examine potential customer segments. Now, this is very simple. We've talked about it. Start with people you know, if possible. Get warm introductions. You can't overemphasize this. Make cold calls to people you don't know. It works sometimes for you to pick up the phone and call people you don't know. Cold calls also include sending emails to an email list to persons that you may not have any rapport with. Build a pipeline. We talked about that. Use your network for warm introductions. Work your way up. Start from somewhere, then you ask them to refer you to someone else up there like that, you keep going up from the low level employees, because it's usually easier for you to get access to low level employees. Cold call is something you can use. Email, guess the address if necessary. I don't want to tell you about guessing email addresses, but I've used email address guess before. You can guess someone's email address and send them an email. If they like your tone, they will reply. Play the student card. Tell them, hey, I'm doing a research. I'm learning. I'm a student at the YIL Fellowship at Hootspa. Do you mind? We're doing a research around this, that. Do you mind asking, giving me audience to ask you a few questions, since I realize that you are an expert in this field? We're trying to develop a solution for COVID-19. Do you mind giving me just 10 minutes or 15 minutes to ask you a few questions? They would, most times they want to give you audience. Remind them you're looking for insights and help. Very important. Make a script. The script is for you. Tell them the truth. Who are you? Tell them who you are. Why are you here? What are you looking for? How much time do you need? Tell them ahead of time how much time you need from them. What is important to them? Always understand and have in mind that people want to know how they will benefit from what you're doing. What can you offer them? Think about what they might want from you. Think about what you might do for them. This increases your chances of success with these people you're going to interview. Assume you're going to a village to interview people. You can, these guys may not have enough, so you can buy some things that may not really be expensive, like biscuits for the kids or something. You can just buy a bit of things for them, and then they give you their whole time to interview them. Okay, so think about how you can help them. If it's an expert up there, you can say, okay, fine. When we are done with this research and all of that, we can send you insights in this field, in this industry. The person will be glad. What medium should you use? We have said that this is usually best done physically, but in situations like this, times like this, you may want to use the next level is video call. You want to see their face expression, facial expression. Non-verbal expression matters a lot in communication. You want to get all those feedback. So you want to see them. It's important. So Zoom call is there, Skype is there, WhatsApp video calls are there. So you want to make use of all this to be able to see the person. And also, it is not about seeing their facial expression or how they look. You also want to see their environment. In what environment are they granting you this interview? In what environment? You want to see the environment, because the environment says a lot about what they are saying, about their problem. Okay, you can do emails, you can do calls, but it's more important then in that hierarchy to do calls than to do emails. Email should be the last. Now, drilling down formula. When you're asking questions, deep interviews, you want to drill down on the money. It is important because people, knowing how people spend their money gives you a lot of insight into how people react to the problems that they have. Okay, so you want to ask them, you want to drill down on their money. You want to drill down on the money. How do they spend their money? Sometimes we tell you whether they will even be able to buy what you want to offer them or not. So how much do you earn? Think questions like trying to find out how much they earn will give you an insight into how they are reacting to the problem. Okay, so it's always good to drill down on the money. How much are they buying the substitute of what you're trying to provide? How much are they paying for it? So for someone you want to provide a mobile phone, you want to find out, okay, how much does it take you to go out there to stay on the queue and buy a card to make a phone call? How much do you transport yourself to that point for the phone booth to the phone booth. So you want to understand, drill down on the money. It gives you a lot of insight into what the problem is and how they are reacting to the problem. Now you want to also drill down on the ecosystem. Who are the other people that are playing in the ecosystem? Who are the suppliers? Who are the stakeholders? You want to understand how everybody is connected to this problem. Because the more you get insight into how other people are connected to this problem you're trying to solve, it helps you understand really what the problem is about and the actual problem you want to solve. Now, drill down on the why. Usually, what we teach at the YIL Fellowship is ask 5 whys. You trying to solve a problem on access to maybe handset, why people have to go out there to make calls and all of that. You won't ask, why do you go to make calls? They ask you, okay, because I need to talk to my son and all of that. You say, why do you need to talk to your son this often? They tell you. So you ask 5 whys. By the time you keep going and going and going, you come down to the real reason why they have that problem. And that is what you want to solve. Because in the superficial, the problem you're trying to solve may not actually be the problem to solve. When you understand the core reason behind that problem, it helps you solve it. And that is with the why. Why this, why that, up to 5 times gets you to the core of the problem you want to solve. Extract insights. Now, there is that you need to extract insights. What archetype is this person? Where they were they the persons you thought they were? Now, this is after your interview. You want to now extract insights from the data you have gotten. What is this person's archetype? Can you describe? So when we say archetype, we mean persona. We mean, what is this person's persona? Okay, what kind of person is this person based on geographical and demographical description? Okay, the person I have interviewed is a 25-year-old female who lives in a rural part of Edo State, in a rural community, and earns less than $2 per day. Now, you have described this person. You have given an image of this person. So we can think about this particular kind of person, how many of them that exists in Nigeria, for instance, in that whole market. There is a description that you have provided about this person, which many other people will fit in. So that becomes your archetype, that becomes your persona. So you're going out there and you're thinking that you need more, your solution is going to be targeting people that fit into that particular description. Okay, so that's why we say you need to have a target market. So you need to have a customer segment, and it has to be very, very definite. And that's what we call archetype and persona. What did they tell us we didn't think about before now? So you want to say, what is it that they told us we had never thought about? What does their tower of wishes and woe look like? You want to know that. What hypothesis did they confirm? Remember, you have a bunch of hypotheses you're going there to confirm. So did you validate those hypotheses, or did they disconfirm them? Is it true that they will need mobile handsets? Is it true? So you want to confirm or disconfirm that. What new customer types did they tell us about? So when you go out there, they started telling you about the ecosystem. You now realize, okay, there are other types of customers you may actually have your solution for. So you are now getting exposed to more archetypes than you thought about. What did they tell us about money in the ecosystem? Very important. How does money run around in the ecosystem? It gives you a lot of insight into what the problem is actually. So these are the questions you want to ask by the end of the day, because you're trying to extract information, insights now from the interview. What do you do before the interview? The whole team needs to meet. You want to say what you're trying to get from this interview. You want to say what your hypothesis is or are. You want to say who will lead the interview. You want to decide these things before the interview. After the interview, you want to write down your notes immediately. You want to discuss each interview as a team. You want to collect data and look for patterns. You want to look for patterns in the data you have collected. Thank you very much. Uh, that's about ethnographic research, deep interviewing, and I'd like to know if you have any questions.